anytime soon until we as a people find a definite solution to that issue. After the finance minister said, that the public sector is full and that the youth should go into entrepreneurship, many people are of the view that their activities ought to be legalized and regulated. Here is the finance minister addressing graduates of UPSA a couple of weeks ago, where he said, well, the payroll is full.
So the future for you with regards to jobs, of course, is the most important thing at this stage. We have gone through a period where most people look for jobs of government, etc. That payroll is full. I can tell you that, because we are spending some 60% of our revenue on remunerating some 650,000 people, and that's not sustainable. The question then really is whether UPSA has trained you to be entrepreneurs. And your question will be, where will I get the financing from, etc. But you do, and you have the skill set to be able to do what you have to do, and you become entrepreneurs. So it's a new world out there where you need to, it's not a factory that is employing 10,000 people, but it's individuals like you employing 2, 3, 4, 5 people to create that energy and engine for our country to transform.
So the voice of the finance minister there. So this has caused many to say that, well, why don't we, legalize the use of the motor bicycles and, of course, the motor tricycles? And some people who have waded into this conversation are members of parliament. Now, I'd like you to listen to the MP for Cape Coast South, George Rickett Hagan, share his thoughts on why he thinks that, we need to legalize the use of these motor tricycles, motor bicycles for commercial purposes. Take a listen to him.
In fact, as a result of this Pragia operation, we have been able to get people who otherwise would have been criminals, who otherwise would have been armed robbers, off the street into this kind of work. It sounds ridiculous that at the age of 18 you cannot ride Pragia. We have been told that the payroll is full, and therefore the youth should become entrepreneurial. To become entrepreneurial, these are some of the things you can do. The Okada riders are entrepreneurs. Some riding their own Pragias, or some doing it on behalf of others and getting paid. I said the youth unemployment in this country is a time bomb, and we, the politicians, must wake up and smell the problem that this is a security threat. Unemployment of our youth is a threat to this country. It's a security threat, and something must be done.
All right, something must be done. And to him, what must be done, amongst many others, has to do with the legalization and regulation of the usage of motor bicycles and, of course, motor tricycles. So now, join us on Facebook on LUV 99.5. The conversation we're about to have this morning is quite simple. What's your take? To legalize and regulate it, or not to legalize it at all? Now, on Facebook right now, we're showing you a video of a number of motorbikes. So can you imagine if many more Ghanaians can buy motorbikes and use it as a form of, transport to get to their various destinations, as we call it, Okada. Fortunately for us here in Kumasi, we don't have much of a problem when it comes to the use of Okada. We have much problems with the Pragia usage and, of course, the Aboboya. But join us on Facebook and see the number of motorbikes that people are using as a means of transport. Meanwhile, we are told in this country that it is illegal. Again, there they are on Facebook on LUV 99.5. We'll also be showing you the other side of things, where that involves the use of the motor tricycles to, carry goods and refuse and stuff like that, all that. But we want to hear from you. Are you for the support of the legalization and regulation of the activities, or to you it's a no-go area? We should not legalize it. So we have Eugene Osei-Tutu with us, and he's been doing some work, as to how these, are affecting us or helping us. He joins us in the studios this morning. to share some light on it. Eugene, good morning to you.
David, good morning.
So what have you been able to put together relating to our subject for conversation this morning?
David, a lot of numbers, but I'll go through a few of them. And let me just state for the record that I'm for the legalization and regulation.
You should have waited for me to ask you whether you are for or not.
No, I want people to know so that when my biases are evident, they will not question my data.
I hear you. Go ahead.
David, let me state that Okada is a motorcycle that serves as taxi, and we know that. And in this context, I'm using Okada to represent all the tricycles. So the 2-wheelers, the 3-wheelers, which is the Pragia and Abuboya. So it encompasses that when I say motorcycle, it means Pragia and Abuboya are included. You know, the term Okada actually became popular because it was an airline company which operated in Nigeria between 1980s and 1990s. So the JSS students, you can note that for a little bit of fun fact there. But let's note that our laws of Ghana, the Regulation 128 of the Road Traffic Regulation 2012.
Section 128 actually.
Yes, Section 128 of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012 and the LI 2180 prohibits
2180.
2180
makes it easier.
David, you should go to law school. You are good at this.
but listen, listeners, join us on Facebook, and Kate and Joel, show that video again for me. Yes, there they are. Almost sounds so saying. Listeners, join us on Facebook and get to appreciate what it is we're talking about. All right, you love what we're showing you on Facebook. Joel, one more time, show that one for me. Thank you so much.
So basically, our laws, the LI 2180, prohibit the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial purposes. So that is also established. Now, when you go to 2019, there were 4,643 motorcycle crashes. When you take into account bicycles, as I've said, handcarts, tricycles, and also the Pragias that we have it, the crash saw some 723 deaths and 3,474 injuries. So 2019, 723 deaths, 3,474 injuries. When it comes to 2020, we had a total of 519 persons who were killed in road accidents as of December 2010, 2020. When you compare that figure to so out of that figure of 518 persons, 167 persons, representing 32% of cases, were killed by tricycles. Accidents involving tricycles and motorcycles in Ashanti region increased by 20% from 872 cases in 2019 to 1,017 cases in 2020, meaning that the accidents were going up when you take the figures of 2019 and 2020. 2019 was 872 cases. 2020 is 1,017. So clearly the cases were going up. Now let's come to 2021. When you take the current data from the MTTD, they say that 93 people lost their lives and some 400 persons got injured in motorcycles. Here, again, I repeat, 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, Aboboyas and Pragas are included. In August 2021 alone, August 2021 alone, the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police have disclosed that the figure is a subset of the total 221 lives that were lost in the months under review to road crashes. This means that deaths from motorcycles alone accounted for more than 42% of the total deaths recorded as a result of road traffic crashes in August 2021 alone. So it means that when you take the figure for August 2021, the death that we recorded, that is 221, 42% of that death was related to motor cycles, Aboboya, Pragas included. According to the data, there was also a 6% increase in motorcycle fatalities as compared to the same period when 98 people died in 2020. The data also further revealed that the total number of 697 reported cases of motor and tricycle accident, a 22% increase as against 2020's 570 cases. Now, David, I've given you some data that's for 2021, but now let me give you the general picture. In September, which is the current, the last data the MMTT brought, we recorded 429 accidents with 556 injuries and 98 deaths. That is on the national on the national score. But when you take, I'm coming. So it means that when you are counting the last 9 months, which is from January to 2021, we are averaging 91 deaths per month nationally. When you take the national average,
and you're talking about January to September.
September, meaning the first 3 quarters, or if you like the first 9 months, we are averaging 91 deaths per month nationally. But when you come to the Ashanti region, when you check the motor accident, we are third, unlike road accidents. or unlike, let me say, the passenger cars and the buses, when it comes to motorcycle, tricycles, Pragia, we are third. The Greater Accra region leads with 208 deaths. Eastern region comes with 146 deaths, and I will explain why. The Ashanti region comes third with 126 motor-related deaths. The reason is that Accra uses more of the Okada,
the two cycle, the traffic, the two tires,
the two-wheelers.
The two-wheelers, yeah.
Yes, because of that. So when you do the average for Ashanti region, it means that every month you are recording at least 14 deaths. 14 deaths related to the motorcycles, aboboya, and tricycles. But nationally, we are recording some 98 deaths averagely for the national score. But Ashanti region is 14. David, so if you have 30 days, 14 deaths, it means that there's a little bit of alarming. Let me just move from some of the grim statistics to the positive side. David, we know that when you go through the various, especially the inner cities and the zongos of this country, you notice that these are creating jobs for thousands of people. When you even go to the rural communities, an SVD report with the Netherlands government says that the biggest source of employment for many people in the rural and peri-urban settlement after farming. And David, I've been to Mansour-Dubi a couple of times, and clearly you can see that there's evident that most of the issues, if they are not farming or into Galamsey, are into the operation of some of these tricycles. Again, they say that the motorcycles are also used to cut cash crops from the farm gate to most of these markets. And it's clear, because how many of our cars can ply even Mansour-Dubi road? Yesterday they were demonstrating. No car can go to Mansour-Datano to bring cocoa to, let's say, in Kranza or even Pichi. It's these aboboyes that do some of these carrying.
And indeed, one of the persons who's done some research work into that area is with us in the Students of Love 99.5. And he's written a beautiful article, and he'll be sharing his thoughts on this one as well. Because years ago, what we used to do on the farmlands was to use the truck, the one that we push. So we put the farm produce on it and we push them. But this time around, the tricycles are helping.
David, because he's here, I would not like to take the wind out of his sail. But also, finally, there's also facilitated commerce and business. We all know that, for example, Gamal clothing will be at the mall. But David will order a shirt. A cycle will just take it, package it, and bring it to Love FM. So it means that also make business accessibility a bit, flexible, and also promote business and all that. But David, for me, I think that it's about chalk and cheese. You have the bitter sweet side, and you have the sweet side, you have the negative side. For me, I would say that let's legalize it and let's restrict some of these things, especially from the highway. For example, when you take the Edgesu Road, there's the N6 highway. I do not think that such a highway, the N6 road, with a speed limit of about 60, should be, sharing the road with tricycles, two-wheelers and three-wheelers. I think we need to restrict their movements because it's creating jobs. And if you take some of these people out of jobs, let's not forget, Ashanti region leaks in crime and murder. And people, when you read it from the likes of Dr. Jones Opokuai, they've actually researched to back the claim that the ban on illegal mining in Galamsey, which was also creating jobs for several people, has a certain effect on the increase in crime in the region. So we should be careful not to say that we are just banning them totally, but let's legalize and restrict their movement. So David, finally,
I prefer you use the word regulate.
So David, the statistic is that Ashanti region leads third. Or we are third nationally when it comes to motorcycle deaths. We are averaging 14 deaths per month in 2021. But we should also know that the death of motor-related deaths are increasing when you check the numbers from 2019 to current.
All right, thanks very much, Eugene Osetutu, and stay with me a while longer because we'll be doing a few more things. Dr. Williams Aka is with us in the Studios of Love 99.5. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
So
good morning
you've done some work in this area, and I'd like to start by asking you, how useful would you say they have been to our society? And I'm talking about the use of these motorcycles and tricycles and all that. How useful have they been?
Okay, thank you again, David. So if you should look at the motor tricycles, for instance, in the rural areas, we know that if you've lived in the rural area, in the village, mostly getting vehicles to travel is difficult. And so vehicles sometimes will travel to your village on a market day, which is once a week. And because there's no vehicle and the nature of the roads, it's quite difficult getting people to travel from one place to the other to access healthcare, to access banks, commercial activities, and so it was very difficult. And when these motor tricycles came in, it came as a huge relief to these people. Now they are able to travel freely. Formerly, they used these hand-push trucks to cut their goods from the farm gate to the roadside. And with this motor tricycles, the Abubuya in particular, they're able to use it to cut it, which is helping them in a great deal. So in transporting people, in terms of mobility in the rural areas, it is helping in a great deal.
But when it comes to the cities like Kumasi and let's say Accra, should this be the transport system for people? How come, we don't have a proper transport system that will do away with all this?
Okay, so I will look at this in two perspectives. First is safety. If we should look at our safety records, we are now every day we are talking about accident. The increasing number of road traffic deaths is as a result of these motor tricycles. If you should look at the trend, consistently we had pedestrian constituting the road user class with the highest share of fatality. Motorcycle, if you should look at it from 2000, was 7th. We had pedestrian being the first. We have bus occupants. Yes. Bus occupants, car occupants, here saloon cars, pickups, heavy goods vehicle, and motorcycle was down there. Now it has moved in 2020 with the data that we have. Is the road user class with the highest share in terms of death in traffic. And if you look at the trend from from the year 2001 to 2020, there have been almost 2,000% increment in the number of deaths as a result of motorcyclists. And this is unacceptable. Here, we know the causes. The motorcyclists, they don't obey lane discipline, for instance. They don't obey traffic signals. They have a high rate of red light jumping. They indulge in dangerous maneuvers, we are aware. And because they also fail to appreciate that they are vulnerable road users. If you are in a car, you are protected in a shield. But with the motorcyclist, there is nothing protecting you. And so in the case of a crash, you have a high probability of dying.
And of course, they are, like you rightly said, they are so reckless on our roads.
Yes.
They scratch your vehicle, they knock down people, killing some people sometimes.
Yes.
They run away when that happens. And a lot of, crazy things happen.
Yes.
Again, if you look at their ages, the people who are even riding these motorbicycles, you ask yourself, why are they on our roads and how come the MTTD is not enforcing them? But that's why I asked that question. With all the things that Eugene put across, this should not be the kind of transport system that we should be, applying.
Yes, in the urban areas, that shouldn't be our focus.
Okay, so your concern is in the urban areas.
In the urban areas. What we should be thinking of is using bus rapid transit. You can't have a city with a population of Kumasi, 2 million, 3 million people, being with our main public transport system being Chocho. These are low occupancy cars, and then the private vehicles. It won't happen anywhere. You need to transport people using bus rapid transit. You need public transport people system, a proper one, an efficient one to transport people. Can you imagine you have to transport, let's say, 500 people, and you are using Abubuya or Okada? Our road is going to be in a mess.
And that is what is going to happen if indeed, for the many who are calling for the legalization of it and saying that it's an entrepreneurial space that they can, cash in on. If many people want to have motorbikes, and on Facebook a while ago we saw the numbers of Okadas that were on the streets.
Yes.
If many more would join this wagon, how would our streets be like?
We're going to have, our street is going to get choked. What we need to think of is to get a proper and efficient public transport system
running. We tried a couple of times, the Eco4 buses, the Ayalolos and codes. How come we are not able to start something, sustain it, and make it work efficiently? What's the challenge?
I think with the Ayalolo, it was the implementation. Because the report that I saw, which was developed by the World Bank, said that let's have an exclusive lane for the buses. Yes, dedicated lanes for the buses. But what happened? Government decided in Accra, for instance, to get a queue jump up lanes. That is locations where they thought that there is congestion. They came up with some jump up lanes so that when you get to those locations, you can just use that. But even with that, church drivers were able to take, and we were unable to enforce that. If we need an exclusive lanes for these buses, dedicated ones, so that we will have people leaving their vehicles to join these buses, and this is what we need to do.
64 years on, we don't even have trams in this country.
Exactly.
That would help us, because many times people are looking at the traffic situation. Even if you're on a bus to the CBD and the traffic situation is bad, you want alternatives.
David, you are talking about trams. Doc just told you that BRT Ayalolo, we couldn't implement.
No, what I'm saying
David,
is,
when you read the
64
report,
years, if we are thinking
David,
right,
David,
if I may use it, if we are thinking right, if we have the right leaders in place, this should not be beyond us.
I agree, but David, you see, we run a country where most of our leaders go into some of these discussions without assessing our country, our setup, and doing other stuff. For example, if you say you are giving dedicated lane to Ayalolo on this Bomsu Road, where are the lanes coming from? Why are you going to construct the lanes? So it tells you that we need to do some of these feasibilities before we sign some of these contracts. For example, the Ayalolo, when you read the report Doc is talking about, do you know that when you take the 13-seater trotro, the Ayalolo can take 3 of them, like the people there, at a go. So it means that you can just drop them at Asada House, then they go to the Central Business District. So the trotro do not need to mass up at that area, cause traffic, the climate issue that is there because of the emission of all these fossil fuels and all that. But we brought the buses and they are not working.
Doc, so let's talk about, and Eugene did a good job. Let me just paint a picture about the positives.
Okay.
I'm thinking that, listen, these tricycles, the motor tricycles, are doing quite well for many people because it helps people to get their destinations on time.
Yes.
Unlike being in buses for long hours because of traffic and all that. Again, it's much more affordable for many people. It's very affordable. The only problem is that they don't, observe the road traffic regulations the way they ought to, although their activity is illegal. Let's put that one aside. Even when you come to the refuse collection, in my area where I live, I think that these Aboboyers are doing fine.
Yeah.
They collect our refuse from within the Akuetteh community. And unfortunately, they want to take it to a far place like a dam site. And on the way, when it pours on the streets, no major honoboko. So you can tell that there is some good in there, but we have a few challenges. From where you sit as a researcher yourself, are you for the legalization and regulation of it, or you are for a total, non-legalization of it?
Okay, so what I would say is that I am not for the wholesale legalization. Ban it from the urban areas, away from major highways, and let it be used. Legalize it for the rural settings. That's what I would say.
Only the rural settings?
Yes.
Or the communities as well?
Or maybe, so from away from major highways, arterial, so communities within the cities, the peri-urban areas, where they don't go or cross major arterial roads, major highways. I mean, they can be used within the communities, but not in the central business district, not on major highways, not on major arterials, but restricted to the communities. In that case, and if we are able to
regulate it,
that,
regulation in this country is a challenge, isn't it?
Yes.
We have a big challenge in regulating stuff.
Do you remember when the transport minister, Akuetteh Esiama, appeared before the parliamentary committee? When he was asked that question, he says because of enforcement, he's not thinking of legalizing it. But when our enforcement improves, then he will think of that. That is my challenge. Are we able to make sure that when we come up with this law, we'll be able to enforce it, that they will stay within the communities. They won't disobey the law and then move to where they are not supposed to go. That is the challenge.
Well, let's hear from our listeners as well, whether they are for the legalization and regulation of it, or they are for a total, non-legalization of it. Give us a call on 03220-83596. And let's have you join us and share your thoughts with us. 03220-83596. So, Kate and Co., let's start picking the calls now. 03220-83596. Do you want us to legalize the use of these motor tricycles, or you don't want the legalization of it? What's your take? Good morning.
Hello, good morning, David. How are you, sir?
I am well, and that's the voice of Chris. Welcome, let's hear you.
Yes, David, thank you very much for this program. Christop's adult education. All right, David, there is an adage that says that no matter how hungry you are, you can't eat with both hands. That is to say that the fact that unemployment is on the ascendancy doesn't mean that everybody at all could do anything and survive. Dave, we all know the nuisance these tricycles and these motors are causing us. Go to Confanoche. Cases that are on the ascendancy. Go and find out. Go to Kumasi North Hospital. Go to South Hospital. Kumasi. Go and find out. Dave, go to my village. Almost every day, somebody dies from this aboboya, this tricycle, this motor, and all that. So I think that for us to legalize this whole thing, that would be a mayhem to the country. But that notwithstanding, I think we should find a way of getting these guys something decent more than this. Dave, when these things were not in progress, people were still surviving. We were still carrying our goods. We were still going to our places. Are we even able to enforce our vehicles on our roads? Let alone these aboboyas and co.
So for you, you're not in support of a legalization of it. Not even in the peri-urban areas. Not even in the peri-urban areas.
No. See, David, I said my village, Yeji. Go there and see.
I hear you.
Somebody dies from this whole issue.
Those are the thoughts of Chris. He joined us. We're talking about the legalization and regulation of the use of these pragias and aboboyas. What's your take? Let's hear you. Asamoah is on the line, I'm sure. Good morning, Asamoah.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm well, Asamoah. Good to have you, sir. Your thoughts?
Dave, in the first place, let me say I'm not in support. If you like, let us take all these things out and let's see if our food will not be transported from Yeji to Kumasi. Let us eliminate all these things and see if our refuse dump will not go to the dumping site. It is a matter of just putting things in place so that we can transport all these things safely. The government can do it. But it's because there is someone sitting somewhere who is not doing the right thing. We have leaders who are supposed to check all these things, but they are not doing their job. They are sleeping on their jobs. So for me, I am not in support of.
What about what the Cape Coast South MP, Ricky Tegan said that because of the youth, some of them who have ventured into this area of work, it has reduced the armed robberies and other vices in our society. You don't think that it's something that we need to consider?
It is never true. To me, it is never true. Because if you tell me that the youth have ventured in all these things, and because of that, we should allow them to do it at the expense of them dying. You give someone a job, fine, he's working, he earns something at the end of the month. At the end of the day, he dies within a month or two. What is the essence of giving that person?
I hear you. Those are the thoughts of Asamoah. Some would also argue and say that, well, buses and vehicles also get involved in accidents and people die. Already we've had about 26 or 27 people dying this week from road accidents or road crashes. Ejikuma Adams is on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. From the United States of Kropo.
Back to Batana here. All right, so let's hear you.
Dave, you have to face the fact. With the NDC MPs who are causing this trouble for us, NDC MPs, this Cape Coast South MP is an NDC member.
All right, so we're not doing politics with this. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm just asking. We told a line for the conversation. We're asking whether we should legalize it and regulate it or not.
They have to think through the problems of Ghana or Ghanaians and stop these things, these small things that they are using it for political gains, that we should legalize what? Pragia and what not.
So you're not in support. You're not obviously in support of it. Ajikuma Adams is not in support of the legalization of it. Those are your thoughts, and I appreciate it. I respect it. Let's put aside the politicians. Let's talk about us, because it concerns us. All right. So what you think is what I want to hear from you. Should we legalize it and, of course, regulate it, or you think that we should not legalize it? Just share your thoughts on this for me. 03220-835-96. Michael, good morning.
Brother David, good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm great, sir.
I am well. Let's hear you, sir.
Okay. The legalization or otherwise of this it's not something that should even occupy our attention for discussion. The reason why I'm saying this is that it's a defeatist approach for us to even consider using aboboya as a means of employment for the youth of this why I'm saying this is that the legalization and regulation. Right now, we see the Aboboya being one of the greatest source of accident as far as our highways are concerned. Then it's a problem. So somebody says that regulate it and create another problem for us. How are we sure we are going to regulate these people? So in essence, what we are seeing now is a symptom of a bigger problem that we have created for yourself. It is a demand and supply issue. Who are the people who are venturing into this Aboboya enterprise? It's a particular kind of people. So if we want to solve that problem, why don't we go to the root? School dropouts, people from all sorts of areas. Why don't we take the problem head on and deal with it rather than throw our hands in there and say, that, oh, because we have these people, let us bring them on board. We are creating a sector. Immediately we create a sector, we need to supply that sector with personalities, and therefore we're saying that people should be school dropouts and go into that venture. Is that what we want as a country? Well, I'm done.
Well, obviously you're not in support, but listen, I know of people who are graduates from Poly and Co. who are riding these because, according to them, that's the only job they have at the moment, and it puts food on their table. And so, well, Michael, that's another angle to chew on. But listen, are you for the legalization and regulation of the usage of motor tricycles or not? Daniel, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Let's hear you, sir.
How are you?
I'm well.
Yeah. Dave, I think somebody talks about politics. You said you should stop talking about politics and then fix on the fact. But let's head what is right. Look, do you know that what is going on is not good? Our leaders, do they think good things for these nations? A thing that is killing people. You came back and said we should allow that thing to go on, and it has been reduced security threat. What kind of a leader are you? So we should allow somebody to go and do something that will kill him tomorrow. Is it good? Dave, we should face fact. Our leaders are not thinking concerning the country, even concerning us. What is good for us is not good for them. They always think that we, the citizens, we should be destroyed, and they will continue gaining. You see, all these things that we are talking about, this cycling, this motorcycle, Okada, and so on, it's not good for the nation. This thing is killing. Recently, somebody broke his leg. The cycle just somersault, and there is one woman in that cycle at Tech. They died. The motorcycling controller, his leg broke into two. You are telling us we should allow this thing to go on.
So obviously, he's not for the legalization of it. We're having this conversation with you, and so you can join us on 0322083596. And usually, this is something that I would like you to study and then also share with our listeners in a bit, because during the 2020 campaign to the run up to the elections, the promises that was made that we're going to get some vehicles, for people who were into the use of Pragia. I'm told that some, 100, and I printed out this morning.
Yes,
so we'll share that shortly with our listeners, as to whether it's even enough and whether people can go in for it, because the figures are there as well. George is also on the line with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, David. How are you?
I am well, George. Good to have you.
David, accidents have been happening. So should we ban transport? Do we have to ban transportation because lorries have been having accidents? Look at what happened these 2 or 3 days. How many people died? You see, we must initiate a law so that we regulate it for the utilization of this Pragia, because it is helping, especially in the farming communities. They use it to transport their goods to the markets. You see? So we cannot say because it has been having accidents, so we have to completely ban them. Look at this bus that ran into another parking car, and then the people got bent. So do we have to ban the buses?
So what's your point? Are you for the are you in support of legalization and regulation?
Yes, legalization and putting measures in place and let the law work.
But looking at us as a nation, as a people, how well do we do when it comes to regulating some of these things? Do you think we can do a good job and say, well, don't get onto the highway, and we'll ensure that they don't get onto the highway and stuff like that?
David, the problem also lies with our leaders. You see, they are also failing to think. We should be able to put measures in place to regulate all, put police on the street to check, you see, so that people will also get jobs. But if you say that we have to ban them because of accidents, accidents have been happening all over.
I hear you. So you are in support. Thanks for joining us as well. 03220-83596. Let's go to Tano, so where we have Kojo on the line now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dave.
Yes, Kojo.
Dave, in the status quo, are we, the Pragia and the Okuetteh people, are they in the system or not?
They're already in the system.
They're already in the system.
Illegally, yeah.
Yeah, whether illegally or informally or whatever. They are in the system and they are working. And indeed, they are causing accidents and so on. Cars and the mainstream transportation are also causing accidents. And we keep on reviewing to identify what is causing these accidents. Maybe they drink and drive, they don't rest. Then we enforce laws to mitigate all these things that's causing accidents. Why don't we do the same for Pragia? We need to know what is making them cause accidents.
But the argument, Kojo, yes, the small boys are in there. But the problem with many, Kojo, has to do with the fact that the accidents relating to motor tricycles and motorbikes are now getting higher. And you heard Dr. Aka say that it's multiplied by over 2,000 times. 2,000 times, 2,000% over the past, let's say, 10 years or so. So it's getting worse.
That is what I'm saying. The same research that identified the increase can identify the cause of these accidents. The same thing we do for cars and the mainstream transportation, that when we find the cause, we try to make laws to mitigate it. Let's do the same.
Okay. Those are the thoughts of Kojo.
When we do the same and then we realize that it is going up or down, then we can think of either creating. But for now, it is creating jobs. For now, it is creating a peculiar service that cars cannot offer. So I think we need to legalize it and then censor it or regulate it well.
Those are the thoughts of Kojo, who joined us from Tano. So thanks for joining us, Kojo. 03220-83596. Charles is on the line. Good morning.
Yes, hello. Good morning, David.
Hi, Charles.
I'm good. Please, I wanted to say that Okada and Abubuya, they are in, and people are patronizing. There is demand for that. Like someone said earlier, so what's creating this demand? It's because of our poor public transport system.
Yeah.
Just one way.
Yeah.
Just the roads, and we don't have any alternatives. And we have so much traffic all the time. So there is demand for it. That's why people are using it. But unfortunately, there is a downside to it. They are very risky. The people who drive most of the time are reckless, and so we are getting a lot of morbidity and mortality from that one. So I think really to solve it, we have to look at it. We have to have alternative means of transport. We are complaining that the whites came to dominate us, but when they were around, they had alternatives for us. The trains were working. I went to Pragia, and the railway lines, the metals have been left. I don't really know whether railway have even taken custody of what they have. And people are taking them away, and nobody even cares about it. We actually have a ministry for railways, but nothing has really been done. From a first place, some of the infrastructure are already there, but we are not really making use of it. So once there is still demand for it, it will still go on.
I hear you.
People who take it know they are risky, but until we make our leaders to follow, not using motorcades and all those things and follow the traffic, I'm sure they would appreciate it and make sure at least road users are also comfortable. They don't have to stay in traffic for 2 hours, 3 hours.
Grateful, Charles, for joining us. I'm grateful. 03220-83596. Do you have Sak on the line? Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm good yourself.
I'm well. Thanks for asking. Let's have you share your thoughts with us.
Okay, so see, we have blueprint from major cities. Why are we not adapting those cities? What they are doing? Cities like Mumbai, London, New York. I mean, if we want to compare ourselves to these countries and these cities, I think we can adapt some of the things they've done. I don't see how this even becomes a conversation. Talk less of a lawmaker making this proposition. It's so wrong. It's so defeatist. And I support the comment of one of the colleagues. It's so defeatist to even think that Pragia and tricycles is the way to go. Look at Kumasi. We are talking about congestion. We don't have enough roads. Our road network is so bad. We are indisciplined. And you expect us to go that route. It's not anything at all. Look at Lagos. We have lessons in Lagos. I don't know if you've been in Lagos before. It's terrible. So that's not the way to go. And I'm very sad hearing this from a lawmaker. See, we end up entertaining all sorts of ideas. See, now they push us to thinking about this as national discussion. How is this a national discussion? Tricycle. We know the consequences. We know what that will lead, where it will lead us. And a lawmaker is pushing us because it is populist. You get people who think alike to align with his thoughts, and it takes away major things that we need to be discussing.
I hear you, Sak. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your call this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, so 0322083596. We are Ghanaians, so we have a stake in all this. We have a say in all this. So give us a call. And Shaibu is on the line. Good morning, Shaibu.
Good morning, David. How are you?
I'm well, Shaibu.
Good. Please, to arrive at a decision whether we should regulate or abandon this Okada business, I think we need to look at the pros and cons. Look, this thing obviously has created a lot of jobs for the youth who otherwise could not have had anything to do. And that is positive. We have made the point time and again that unemployment is a security issue. And therefore, this has created employment, and at least it has reduced some of the crime that is in our society. Apart from that, the government is also benefiting in terms of the amount of money your government is using to buy fuel. I think this is critical because you see the Okadas are using less fuel than the vehicles. And therefore, if we were even to use more of them, we could have reduced the amount that we use to import fuel, which will help our balance of payment situation. But then let's look at the negative side. It is the issue of safety. As another caller said, even cars are getting involved in accidents, and we are trying to find a way to make car travel safer. Why shouldn't we try to identify the causes of these accidents by the Aboboyas and then try to solve them so we can enjoy the enormous benefits?
All right, so Shabu, there are many who are of the view that even if we want to legalize this, they should not be in the main, highways and all that. They should operate within the peri-urban areas. Is this something that you would go for?
Yes, I totally agree with that one. That is why I talk about regulation.
Okay.
Regulation will bring on board all these things. Therefore, it will make it safer. I have worked in the rural area before, in the cocoa industry. We used to suffer a lot until this Aboboya came on stream. And then...
Unfortunately, it's happened again. There are occasions where the line stripped a trip and we lose everybody on the line. Apologies to you, Shaibu, but thanks for joining us anyway. Do we have Hassan on the line? Is Hassan on the line? No, we lost everybody on the line. But, Eugene, I gave you something to study for me because I was trying to ascertain for ourselves, in the run-up to the 2020 elections, for example, there were so many promises that were made. And especially in Accra, and in Tema, where we have the use of these Okada, some promises were made. Now we're told that some mini vehicles, have been brought into the country.
Yes, one of the key promises of the then NDC campaign team and President Mahama was that when they come, they will legalize the Okada operations. Then people responded that they've also been thinking about something like that in the pipeline. They call it the Okada for Cars initiative.
Yeah.
So it was being led by the vice president, who was saying that they will give them some. I don't know whether to say Kambu-like cars, some small cars like that, and it's
the cars are in.
Yes. It's a 4-seater car, air condition. One is going for 25,000 cedis. 100 are in for the phase 1. So the Coastal Development Authority says it's 25,000. But when you're a member of the public, you pay a deposit of 10,000. When you're a Okada rider, you also pay a deposit of 5,000. Then they say that per the arrangement, non-Okada riders will pay a daily, will make a daily payment of 32 cedis, whilst Okada riders make a daily payment of 40 cedis. So yes, it's in. And it's 100 pieces.
100 cars.
100 cars. It's a phase 1. It's a pilot something.
Alaji Sadat, good morning.
But before Alaji comes, someone was asking me, when I was reading, someone just tested me that. But if they have 25,000, would they be doing Pragia business?
Alaji Sadat, but this is, you pay in installments, so it's not like you pay upfront. Alaji, good morning.
Good morning, dude.
Yes, sir. Welcome, Alaji. Let's hear you. You too.
Dave, kwana accident. Na mun tasem. So, isa kwano. Saka asne bana mu university na on se president ye ni o. Otisi wa ube wa na about. Kasa le lati go so crowd energize. Ube bia ube wa na na mbushi. Nka sa kwano ngo ofi edin so ekokwo ngwa. The final say extend. We were over with me check at any time. If you and I do any time. Mark the idea of when I check we overtaking her. We share that I can never be very careful.
Well, thank you very much, Alaji Sadat. Let's make one more call and then we're done on the phone lines for this morning. Asampana, good morning.
Good morning, David.
Trust you're well.
I'm good, are you?
I'm well. So where do you stand on this debate, Asampana?
I think this Akuetteh tricycle has come to do us a lot of good. And we can't just say we are throwing the bad water with the child. We have to find a way. I am in an industry that we need it. We need the service of these tricycles, and it is very important to be regulated, because I feel it is not a bad idea to have it on the road. But which side of the road are we talking about? If Abubuya or tricycles on the road, whether it be a highway or a double lane road, they should be always at the outer side of the road, not the inner road. That is what I think. Thank you very much, David.
Well, thank you. And that was Asampana. We got your messages as well. We shall be sharing those messages with you shortly. This is Love in the Morning. This is Love 99.5. We're having a conversation as to whether to legalize or not to legalize the operations of these Aboboyas and the Pragias. We want to hear from you. Hassan is on the line. Hassan, good morning.
Good morning, David. How are you doing?
Well, Hassan, I wanted to pick a final call, but I'm told to pick just 2 more calls, so you're going to be one of the 2. So, Hassan, go ahead.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum to my Muslim brothers and sisters. David, I think legalizing it is something good. I work at Kumasi Abattoir, and I'm in charge of those Aboboya and other stuff. I'll be very much glad if one of you one day comes to see the number of young men who are into this Aboboya thing. You will be happy seeing these people finding their daily bread from this Okada thing. When you lead them to go on rampage, it's a bombshell for this country. May Allah for never even allow that to happen. Because I know how they are. They are very strong. They are very intelligent. They don't even fear anything. But when you come and see the way they humble themselves and be working on this, I swear to God, you will like them. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you as well. But the bottom line is many may be going into this because that is the only option they have available. If there were better options available for them, I'm sure that they would have opted for that as well. Because I know of a few graduates. I know of some graduates. I've spoken to some of them in the Cities of Love 99.5 who are into this business. And they say, well, it's helping them because they're taking care of their wives. They're taking care of their children with it. Our very final caller is on. Otis, good morning.
Good morning. I hope you are doing good.
I am well, Otis. Let's hear you.
For me, I think that the issue is not about criminalizing or legalizing or whatever term you want to put it. The issue is trying to control what has been happening, and that's all. What is it used for? Is it used for killing people? No. It's actually used to cut goods and services from one point to another. So is that what they are doing? Yes. But the wrong overtaking and where they apply, if it is wrong, then we have people who are in charge of that and are supposed to correct them and to tell them this is what you are supposed to do and this is what you are not supposed to do. If that is done, we don't have any issue. Because we have cars today, they do wrong overtaking, accidents occur, they park at places they are not supposed to park, and all these things are still happening, and we have accidents here and there. So for me, it's not about legalizing it or not legalizing it. It's about just streamlining and making sure that there's control.
I hear you, Otis. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Williams-Aka, you are with the BRRI and CSIR. You guys do a lot of research work. You give a lot of information to government and stakeholders in the transport industry and all. Based on what you've heard this morning, what are you going to carry along with you? What are you going to tell the people out there?
Okay, so, David, I'll still go with my research findings.
Okay.
Which is that if we are to allow motor tricycles
in
urban areas, we're going to have serious congestion issue. What we should concentrate on is getting an efficient public transport systems. And in the rural areas, we have a gap in our transportation space. And so if we are to ban these motor tricycles in the rural areas, it's going to create a big problem. So legalize it, regulate it in the rural areas
and for the areas.
Yes, in the peri-urban
Thank you
areas.
very much.
In the urban areas,
Leo is back. Leo is back.
Okay, this is from Yao Ado. He says, if our leaders were visionary enough to create jobs for the youth, this Aboboya business wouldn't have gotten this far. And he says, let's regulate their activities. It is that which put food on their tables. They are on their own, no help from anywhere. The youth in Ghana has been left alone for so long. It's a shame we have gotten this far. From Nunes Nana Nenena, he says, those saying that Aboboyas should be banned, do they buy cements and iron rods and cart with their SUVs to their sites? Okay, this is from...
But we have Kia vehicles that could do that. They are more safer if I'm to go with what Dr. Aka and his research
which one is cheaper? That's a very good...
Go ahead, sir.
And he says, this is from Ali Kwegwe Kingsley Chigos. He says, I will say no to the legislation of the Okada business, but for the tricycle, I will give my full support for the legislation because the tricycle has reduced unemployment and crime a bit in those communities. And from Nkoswohinen Nana Akonfrempong, he says in Ghana, those expected to show leadership in themselves, they themselves enforce, break the law with impunity. Many times I see police and military men in uniform riding unregistered motorbikes, riding without helmets, driving unregistered vehicles with no documentation. I've had the bravery to confront some of them in traffic and received insults. Why will an officer who enforces the law break it with impunity and turn around to enforce the same law? How many of police and military personnel riding private motorbikes around have their rider's license? Let the military high command and Ghana Police Service issue a warning to their personnel when the citizenry, so that the citizenry will learn to follow suit. I'm just being a citizen, not a spectator. And he greets everybody on the show. Thank you.